The problem we're dealing with here with this whole blue chip thing is these things aren't cheap. Is Amazon a blue chip company? Is Caterpillar a blue chip company? Just look at these US industrial, the classic industrial companies. They're not cheap anymore. They've gone up a lot. They're expensive. You're paying 20 plus PEs. The expectations of it to grow are like baked in. It's got to how the hell is it going to achieve those?
Fossil fuels post-election. Hi Chris, our thesis on fossil fuels is based on the underinvestment in the sector and the heavy regulations imposed on it, which we believe will eventually lead to a significant shortage of fossil fuels and a resulting price surge. With Donald Trump's election, it's likely that these regulations will be removed and the investment will flow back into the sector. How do you think this will impact our thesis? That's a good question from John.
Well, I think it's good for oil service companies, but it's not necessarily going to increase and result in any material increase or increase at all in the actual production of oil. We've been through it before. I think, look, the elephant in the room is what happens to US shale production. Said here that contention is that US shale production is peaking, and that's due to because a significant part of their tier one assets have already been drilled out. That's what it comes down to, really.
US elections. Of course, it doesn't change the fundamentals, but could you give us your thoughts on the impact of the US elections on your general outlook? Despite many high valuations, even if you see better value elsewhere, would you agree capital is likely to continue flowing to US equities with more pro-business, lower tax regulation / Doge intentions / woke policy removal relative to the rest of the world, particularly if the dollar continues to strengthen? Despite valuations, I see a reasonable allocation to a basket of US blue chips as a good counterbalance to the asymmetric strategy. And at least as far as capital flows go, the risks seems to the upside rather than downside to me. While we wait for some of these themes to come to fruition, it seems like a good counterbalance. That's from Anthony.
What I would encourage folks to do here is actually just sit back and not get caught up by all the crowd and the narrative and say, okay, we'll take one theme here. Drill, baby, drill. Will that result in an increase in output? We've covered this before. That's been limited by the geology. It's a very different animal now than what it was 10 years ago because we audited through about half the resource, if not more. A basket of blue chips as a counterbalance. So what do you mean by blue chip? I love that term, blue chip. What is it? It was something to do, the actual term is something to do, way back in the good old days. I forget exactly what it was anyway. This is pre-1930. But look, just because it's a blue chip company, why is it a blue chip? Because it just feels good? Is Amazon a blue chip company? Is Caterpillar a blue chip company? Well, maybe, but what are you paying for the blue chipness? Now, sometimes you're not paying much at all. Other times you're paying God knows what. I mean, is Nvidia a blue chip company? Well, Nvidia may well be a very, very good company, but a very, very bad stock price. It's like, you're paying goodness knows what. The expectations of it to grow are like baked in. It's got to how the hell is it going to achieve those? Yeah, so look, be very, very careful of the whole blue chip thing, folks, and you guys got to understand what you're actually paying for that. Now, why not the different strategies account to the asymmetric strategy? Sure, there are some crossovers, but they are quite different. 80% of the portfolio is different than the asymmetric portfolio. The problem we're dealing with here with this whole blue chip thing is these things aren't cheap. Now, let's say your Dow companies are classified as your blue chip companies, whatever. Okay, whatever. Dividend yield is about 1.6%. That's getting up on comparison to what it was at the height of the tech bubble in late 90s, early 2000s. It's not cheap. It's not like you're getting a 3% yield or even 2.5%. Those aren't high in the first place. But it's this is the P ratio, price to book ratio. It's as high as what it was in 1999, 2000. Even higher than what it was in the start of 2022, late 2021. Look, they're not cheap. So, go back to 2008. It's like, okay, just buy the bloody Dow, buy the S&P. They're all cheap, fine, whatever, but it's not the case now. You really got to go looking and be very, very, is it circumspect? Is that right with you? Look at discerning.
Skeptical?
Whatever. But you got to go searching for the value. It's not jumping. I mean, all these, look at many of these big, just look at these US industrial, the classic industrial companies. They're not cheap anymore. They've gone up a lot. They're expensive. You're paying 20 plus PEs. And the Dow is a PE now 24. This is, and that's not been so influenced by tech companies. So even your classic industrial companies are not so cheap. So that's the problem I have. Otherwise, I'd say, yeah, the Dow's a great counterbalance to what we're doing in the asymmetric portfolio. But at this stage, no, it's too expensive.